One of the hardest things about running a business, running a team, managing, I think the very hardest thing is firing somebody. I don't know anybody who enjoys it. I mean, ever since I've become a boss, it's my least favorite thing to do. My stomach gets in knots. I put it off as long as I can. I like rehearse, I over prepare, I research online. You got to talk to your attorney. And listen, any executive that I've worked with or manager that I've worked with, no one's like, yay, I get to fire somebody. And if you've been fired or laid off or anything like that, I've been laid off before. It feels terrible. But of course, I never thought of it from the perspective of the person who had to lay me off. And now I have a lot of empathy for them. It wasn't them like being evil and plotting against me personally. It was the circumstances of the organization. So I want to talk about what happens when you delay firing somebody who needs to be fired, or if you delay putting your foot down, creating boundaries around how they should behave at work. So I have worked with multiple clients who had this going on in their teams. There will be a problem person. I want to say a problem child, but of course, businesses aren't families, nor should you ever call your team your family. It's icky. Don't do that. There will be a problem person. And this person might be a problem person because they are a low performer, like they're not doing their job or they're not doing their job well enough. More often, they might have a bad attitude. And what I have found in a lot of situations is because of their bad attitude, if it's that, they don't do their job or they just phone it in, or often they lie or like obfuscate, create smoke and mirrors around if they're in fact doing their job and achieving what they're supposed to achieve at work. So people might think they're performing, but they've figured out how to game the system so it looks as though they're performing just enough, but they're really not when you dig into it, when they leave and then you find the trail of destruction that they leave in their wake. Another thing might be that they have this bad attitude, and it's usually very self-serving, where they come up with these elaborate excuses why they don't have to do their job. Like, I've got clients where people feel it's unjust to do their job. Like they care about social justice, but they've twisted that into being, I don't need to do my work. And in the kind of organizations I work with, that is just bullshit. It's just bullshit because all the people around you are doing the work and they're not being oppressed by doing their jobs. I don't work with any managers or bosses that are unreasonable people. I absolutely don't. So if you have a genuinely unreasonable boss, maybe, but most bosses are not unreasonable. They just have different information than you have. Yeah, come at me, but that's really what's going on. Then there's another kind of person who they just can't perform, and maybe they've been off the hook for a while. Maybe they've been coasting. Maybe they've been able to sort of hide amongst their team. But they just don't do a whole lot, and maybe they've been there long enough that no one's done anything about it. And then the other one is when people, maybe they are doing their best, which may not be good enough for what's needed, but they've never been given instructions. So what happens are some obvious things and some not so obvious things when you have one of these situations where you know deep down that this person needs to go, but you do not want to actually do it, right? Because you're afraid, and it's because it's uncomfortable for you. Or maybe you think it's going to harm the work, it's going to harm the organization, but believe me, you are doing so much more harm to the organization by keeping that person there. So there's the effect and then what you can do. So the effect of this is, of course, work quality is down, right? And because everything happens in a team context, even things that seem like solo work really affect other people and parts of the system, right? If there's two or more of you, if one person's off, it brings the whole thing down. So the work is not getting done. The work is not getting done at the level that you need it done, that is expected for being part of this organization for the services or products that you deliver. So the work is down. But even more, it brings the team down. You may not know because maybe this person's been doing their thing for so long that you forgot what it's like to have things any other way, or maybe you weren't there before this person was doing their job. But the morale on the team or the standard that the team thinks is acceptable might be so low because of one person. Or maybe this person has created such a system around them to protect the fact that they are not doing a good job, or they're not a team player or something like that, that other people have had to mute themselves, like mute some of what they could be accomplishing. So for example, if you have a team director and they are the problem, all of their team underneath them, their managers and things, maybe they have great potential to lead the team, but they have learned through interacting with this bad director that it's dangerous for me to express my talents because that person will come for me. That person wants to keep me small because I threaten them. So I just learned to just do just enough, kind of stay under the radar, because it's not worth risking my job. I can't afford to lose my job because this person is threatened when I have a talent that they don't have. Or maybe this person doesn't want exceptional results because then more will be expected of them. So maybe people on their team can deliver exceptional results, but they have been told either explicitly or implicitly. We learn a lot of things implicitly, right? They're not said, but they're heavily implied. They have learned, don't stick your neck out. Just keep it average. So you may have a team that's very capable of achieving, but there's one person in the way. If that person is maybe more part of the team, not running the team, they're still pulling the whole team down. And a coach that I really liked, a leadership coach, referred to this as holding the team hostage. If you are dragging someone along with you, to mix the metaphors, and they're a heavy weight, how fast can the whole team go? It's going to slow the whole team down if we have to move together, let alone are we even moving in the same direction. This person wants to go this way, this person this way. We can't all move together and we can't advance. We can't grow. We can't get to the next level. So the effects are tangible in the work, but the effects are also psychological, sociological. I promise you it is doing more damage to keep this person in place than the discomfort of letting them go and then the temporary moment of having to clean things up in the background and find a new way forward. It usually takes less time than you think. So here are some things you can do. I believe everyone should have the best chance possible to do their best. And so it's on you if you have not given them clear standards for how we are expected to perform here. So this is an exercise I do with a lot of my clients. Yes, we'll do mission, vision, and values, but what I find is that a lot of organizations do not have standards. And standards are different than values, because standards are about, this is what it means to be professional here. This is our baseline level of performance, not the minimum, but what performance looks like. Values are like, for my company Pregame, our values are professionalism, keep it 100, growth. So they're more like concepts, but our standards are things like we return emails within 24 hours. If we bring a problem, we bring at least 2 possible solutions. So they're very tangible behavior activities. Even we schedule appointments for 50 minutes instead of an hour so that people have time to breathe in between. So those are the standards we developed, because if I say professional or I say excellence, someone else might have a completely different definition of that. So I can be very explicit in what I mean around our culture in terms of how we behave so that we can all do our best work and ultimately serve our clients the very best. So performance reviews, job descriptions, standards, values, these are all expectations. And if they are not defined in a very clear way, how can you blame somebody for not getting it? I have clients who never even did reviews with their team before we worked together. And like, how are people supposed to know how they're doing? It's not intuitive. It's not intuitive. And just because somebody next to them is performing well doesn't mean that they have the instructions. They may have the skills and they may have the will. So give them the best possible chance to improve. Now, if they have that information, the next thing you can do, of course, is have that conversation where there's a gap, where things aren't happening. And maybe there is some discovery that needs to happen. There's some other factors that are affecting their performance that you don't know about. It could be things happening on their team. It could be things happening on an outside team. It could be things happening in their personal life. And then you can help create a solution. And if you're not the right person to create the solution, you can help refer them to that right person. Of course, if it's something going on in their personal life, hopefully you have a healthcare plan and they can go get psychological help or get outside help in the way that they need it. So until you understand what's going on, how can you solve it? So you have to have a conversation. And I know that's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's better than the unsaid stuff that hangs over the whole team from day to day. Now, if they've been given instructions, given a chance, and it's just obviously not happening, of course, you got to document how it's going. What's the conversation you had? What was said? Send a follow-up email so everyone's on the same page. It can't just be a conversation. Then there's like a performance improvement plan or a PIP. If you have HR at your business, I'm jealous. I've worked for mostly small businesses where there wasn't an HR department. And of course, I have a small business, so we don't have like a HR specific role. But one tool that is very much used by HR and can be used outside of HR is a performance improvement plan. So it is a very explicit list of what performance needs to be seen in a certain amount of time, maybe it's 30 days, in order to basically keep your job. So it's sort of that last notice. And most people, it seems, don't come back from that. If it gets to that point, then it's kind of like, yeah. But I believe in giving people the opportunity, because I know in the past I have thought, oh, this person's doing this or they're not doing that. But I didn't tell them exactly what my expectations were, or I didn't tell them the circumstances. Like, here's what's at stake if you don't perform, right? This is how it hurts our clients. This is how it hurts the business itself. This is how it hurts the chance of us hiring more people. This is how it hurts the chance of your job existing a year from now. Because people didn't necessarily come to their jobs with a business degree or having run their own business, so they just don't have the perspective that you may have as a business owner or as a boss. So it's on us to explain it. And we don't have to over-explain. We don't need to, give them a business school degree while they're at work. But context really helps for people, and they really appreciate it. Now, of course, if these things aren't working or you've already tried, and if you are listening to this, you've probably tried too many times, and it's time to you got to fire them. And I know it's uncomfortable, but it's just uncomfortable. It's not painful. It's just uncomfortable. I think it's good to have something to do to regulate your own nervous system, both before and after. If it's some deep breaths, if it's practicing what you're going to say, having it written out, which you should, because you want to also send a written version of what you're breaking, the news you're breaking to them. But then after too, I always would try to go for a walk or go get a coffee somewhere else and take a little break afterwards, because I was really worked up after that kind of a conversation. Of course, you have to legally document everything. Different states have different laws about last paycheck and things like that. And some people, some industries are very litigious. So you definitely want to have everything documented because people can retaliate, especially if somebody sucks enough to like bring the whole team down. Sometimes that's it. It's not personal. If somebody has, let me really say this to you because I know if you are a good person, good boss, good manager, like who sincerely wants everything to work out for everybody, it's so hard to depersonalize it, but it is not personal. They're not underperforming to specifically mess you up. And even if they are, that is their own head stuff to deal with, heart stuff to deal with. Like, that's not on you to fix. They need professional, separate help and services in order to deal with that. And some people, most people just never will. They'll find ways around having to like get real and become self-aware. But guess what? You don't have to keep them at your organization. You don't have to make your life worse and the team's life worse by keeping them around. I had a client who had a problem person on their team for so long that I had like given up trying to coach them to get rid of this person. Like it was years that this person was a problem. And finally, this person did something so egregious that they had to like, but guess what? Did the world end? Did the business close because one person left? Absolutely not. It's a little more work for a very short period of time to sort things out. But listen, things are going to be fixed a lot faster than if they had hung on to that person even longer. And they're kind of enjoying like getting their hands dirty and finding new ways to run that department so that it serves the business better now because it was such a tug of war before. And best of all, that team, they're starting to blossom because now they're not being held back by this F player. So they are finding some of their strengths and able to express them because they're not spending their whole days tiptoeing around somebody who's very difficult to work with. Okay. So if you are hate watching this because you got fired or got a performance improvement plan, take a deep breath, go for a run, like do what you got to do. But, you know, again, also probably not personal, right? Businesses, organizations have certain needs and things just happen and nobody enjoys firing somebody. Okay. It's awful. If you need to fire someone, you're just not ready yet. Maybe you're never going to be ready. Just do it anyway. Because the things we do for hours of every day, our work is half our lives. Half the day that you're awake. It shouldn't suck. That's the whole point of this whole thing, is that your work is so much of your life that you should be able to love what you do. You should be able to grow from what you do. You should be able to have a great community around what you do. It's your life, right? And it's that person's life too. And so maybe this will be the wake-up call that helps them find their right path as well. All right, have some courage. Have a great week. And I'll be back tomorrow with some more.